Warning: this podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
What's going on? I am Scoots Brunson.
And I am S. Foster.
That's right, and I switched it up one more time for the old school, man. This is the Viewers Anonymous podcast. That's the last time you'll ever hear that one again. We're going back to the old format later, man. But you know what I'm saying? What's going on with you, brother?
Man, finally got this process done, man. It's been a long, drawn out process, man. For the people that don't know what the hell I've been talking about, man, I finally was able to close on my house, man.
That's right, man.
Man, I've been moving and jucking and jiving and screaming and everything, man, trying to get all this damn shit done, man. I've been wore out, I've been tired, but things are starting to get back, you know what I'm saying, to normal. Still, you know, boxes here and boxes there, getting things straightened out. But it's one of those things where like it still ain't hit me yet. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still looking around like shit, I fucking live here. You know what I mean? Like it still ain't hit me yet. But that's the process that I've been going through, y'all. I've had some assistance from some people that were screwing things up for me, but they made the process a little bit more difficult than it had to be. But it's done. I'm here. You know, so that's what's been going on, man. That's why we missed the whole week of potting, man, because I've been getting shit together over here. But man, how about you, man? How you feeling? Everything been good?
Man, everything been great, man. I don't have no complaints, other than the fact that you know what I'm saying, I'm tired. And you know what I'm saying, I don't know what's going on with the NBA schedule, but I've been trying to keep up with it as far as the finals go, and they have switched some stuff around, and I'm just not used to this shit, man.
Yeah, I heard someone talking about that. They were talking about how they threw 3 days in there, and it's usually only been like 2, and like so that third day, man, kind of throwing stuff off, man. It's making it feel kind of weird, but you know, I was only able to watch. I didn't get to watch game 1, man, because I was moving and everything, and so then like I was able to watch game 2, which ended up being a blowout, but hopefully now that stuff is now calmed down, man. I finally got my internet hooked up today, so I'm definitely gonna try to watch game 3, man. It seemed like from what I've been hearing from podcasts and stuff like that, it seems like a really really good series. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna jump on game 3 tomorrow, man. But yeah, the scheduling has been a little crazy, man. That third day kind of threw a monkey wrench in there.
Man, it threw everything off, man. But yeah, man. Outside of that, everything has been going good. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing a lot more work as far as the OnlyFans stuff has been going. You know what I'm saying? That's been going great. So you know, everything looking up from here, man.
That's what's up, man. That's what I love to hear.
Oh yeah, for sure. And man, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, man. You know what I'm saying? They finally got done with that one. You know, that's something that we haven't touched on. But congratulations to my man Johnny Depp. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations to him. I haven't really been watching it as closely, but I've definitely been trying to, you know what I'm saying, keep an eye on the details and everything that they've been, you know what I'm saying, talking about after you know, at the end of the day of each trial day. And, you know what I'm saying, some stuff was said about him and some stuff was pretty much put out there about him and her, of course. But, you know what I'm saying, I'm just happy that they finally were able to come to some type of determination. I'm super happy that Johnny Depp won that thing because regardless of what happened, you know what I'm saying, we don't know whether it's real, we don't know whether it's fake. And the allegations, you know what I'm saying, aren't really anything to joke about. But, you know, for the most part, man, it's just sad to see that two people who, you know what I'm saying, you thought could be in love have to go through something like that. And, you know what I'm saying, it's good to see that they can find a way to come to an end and end all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Salute to Johnny Depp. And
yeah, like the thing about it, like people were coming out and saying some of the things that they were saying, and my whole thing is, first of all, I think both of them was just too toxic to be together, and I think that is a thing. But for her to do some of the things that she done, and for him to sit back and take it, and like I think that that's what people don't get credit for. I think a lot of men don't get credit for some of the things that they just eat when it comes down to women. And it felt like
Mm-hmm.
he ate a lot of stuff when it came to her, and
Big time.
he was able to win because of it, because of the things that
Mm-hmm.
he did sit back and didn't do anything about, and he ended up winning. I think it was 15 or 13 million or something like that. And like
Yeah.
people are saying like, yo, like we need to believe women. But I mean, we need to believe men too. And I've always been on that because I told you I've been on the other side of that where, what I'm
Hey
saying, a
man, me
woman put
too.
some false allegations out on me. And, what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I had to sit back and I had to eat it. And it's just like when I hear all of the stuff about, we need to believe women. And I was like, look, I totally agree with you. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, there are some that just that have bad intentions and they just want bad things to happen to somebody for cause maybe because of personal reasons. They're pissed
Right.
off, or whatever. And I think that that's what Johnny Depp was really dealing with. Not that Johnny Depp was always in the right, because he did some stuff he could have handled a little differently too. But it
Yeah, he
was a
could have handled
case,
some shit way better.
yeah, and it was a case that drawn out. It played out in the public, and one thing that I did see and I'm glad about is they said that because of the stuff that was going on between them, Johnny Depp haven't really been able to get any roles. And like
Right.
now that
Yeah,
they
he was out of
see
work for
that,
6 years, man.
yeah, and now that they see like, yo, like Amber was preventing him from getting work. So
Mm-hmm.
now with this stuff being drawn out, now it's like, yo, now this dude can come back out. They're even talking about possibly um doing another Pirates of the Caribbean. Now I will say I've never been a huge fan of those. I might have seen some of one or two or whatever. I've never watched the whole thing, but I think Johnny Depp has a really really good catalog, man. Like you look at his IMDb, like this dude really been like Johnny Depp got some great movies out there.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to see him, back at work, what I'm saying, doing this thing. So yeah, that was a strange trial, man. But happy that they was able to resolve it in a certain way, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully this man can get back to work.
For sure, man. And then the crazy part too was, you mentioned that she was preventing him from getting work, but he lost a lot of work in the process too.
Oh yeah,
Um, he lost a Pepsi, what I'm saying, a Pepsi deal. They were actually in the middle of production for the next Pirates of the Caribbean, and they had to cancel that. And he lost out on the Netflix deal too. So, you know, he took a huge loss on that, man. Meanwhile, she was in the midst of making Iron Man. I mean, not Iron Man, Aquaman. And she was in the midst of making Aquaman too. I'm not sure if they're gonna keep her on now that everything has come to light. I know that I've heard some rumors that she may not be in the next movie or the Justice League or anything like that. But so
yeah. I heard
yeah,
that that there was a whole lot of petitions signed for her to for people to take her off of Aquaman too. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it was a weird situation, man, and the way that it played out in public, man. Just like stuff that never really supposed to leave a house, don't supposed to be public. Like what I'm saying, the whole thing about her shitting on his side of the bed and all that type of shit. Like
yeah. That's crazy.
like that, some of that stuff just need to it didn't need to come out. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
in certain situations, I guess that's what they felt they had to do. So you know. It is what it
yeah,
is. Glad you brought it up though, because it's movie related. You know what I'm saying? We do a movie
definitely.
podcast, and like I said, y'all, like the reason we haven't been on our schedule, I've been, dealing with the closing on this house and finally got that done. So,
My man been celebrating. That's why. You know what I'm
well, I ain't even had a chance to celebrate, man. I ain't even
saying?
had a chance.
Nah, I
It's
know.
been I ain't even like. Hopefully this weekend, man, I'm gonna be able to just chill and not do nothing, man. It's just been constant work, man. I mean, I still got a few things that I need to do that I'll probably try to knock out this weekend, but it'll be
Yeah,
a lot smaller stuff. It won't be, putting beds together like y'all. I done put 5 beds together Friday and Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Cause my sister moved and I had to go help her. You know what I'm saying? Little brother duties, man. I had to go put her bed together and her daughter bed together. So it's been a hectic like week, man. It's really been a hectic week, man. So I'm still haven't been able to sit down and like really enjoy it yet, and like really sit back, get a drink, and really celebrate, man. But I'm gonna get there at some point, man. I don't know when it's gonna be, but I'm gonna get there.
For sure, man. So man, moving on to what we came here for, man. This movie to me is one of the greatest movies of all time. It is a classic unto itself. All star cast. Leonardo DiCaprio. Um, damn, what's her name? She's in
You got Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. I don't know
Yeah.
why I keep wanting to call her Kate Winslow. Kate Winslet. Um, you got what's the one
you
chick's
got
name?
you got Billy Zane,
Yeah, you
Kathy
got Billy
Bates,
Zane in there. Kathy Bates. That's what I'm thinking of. You got Kathy
Bill
Bates.
Paxton.
Yep. Yep.
Man, I mean, you got a lot of noticeable names, man. But
For sure,
it's
man.
just, and James Cameron done
Yeah.
film like this was the film that really took him and Leonardo DiCaprio to that next level. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? 1997 movie, 3 hours and 14 minutes. Everybody
Mhm.
always talked about how long it was, but the way that they was able to shoot this film, it's like even like going back and watching it, like I mean, and look, it's not his fault that he came out with this idea in 1997. Like some of the CGI just wasn't there yet. But like you can
Yeah.
notice some of the things now. But now when it came out in '97, this it's the
Man,
most
that shit
beautiful
look
shit
real
you
as
ever
hell, man.
seen.
Listen,
But
let me
like
tell you. Okay, so I told this story. I told this story on the coming, so I'm gonna tell this story now. So, you know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, man, my mom used to take me to the library, right? And we lived like right across the street from the fucking library. So, you know what I'm saying? When I went to the library, we would get two movies. We would get The Wiz, you know what I'm saying, with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and then we would get Titanic. Now, when Titanic first came out, you know what I'm saying, my mom was like, "You really want to see this?" I'm like, "Yeah," because you know what I'm saying, in school we had just heard about the Titanic, all this other stuff. So I'm like, "Yeah, they got a movie out about it." Like, yeah, I definitely want to see this. Well, it was a two tape VHS set. So you know what I'm saying. It's a 3 hour movie, 3 hour and some change movie. So you know what I'm saying. Each one was like a hour and 30 minutes long or whatever. So we watching this movie, man, and when I say I was captivated throughout this whole 3 hours, bro, as a kid, like this is some of the greatest shit I've ever seen on film. So from there, this just ended up becoming like one of my favorite movies. Anytime it was on, I would watch it, no matter where the beginning point or the starting point was. Like I would always, sit down and watch it. And so, from that point on, like every time we would go to the library, we would take, our books back, take our movies back, and then I would just tell them to keep Titanic because I want to rewatch it. So I watched this shit probably about a good maybe like 20 times that year when it came out on VHS.
yo, like for me, I don't know. I can't really explain what it was. I think what I really can, like a lot of it for me is I just appreciate history. I love like watching, not even really watching, like I love like old photographs. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
to look at the Titanic for it being what it was, I was always drawn to it. So I told this story before when we did the Leonardo DiCaprio episode. I was able to, me and my old lady, we went out to Gatlinburg for my birthday
Yeah.
um, 2 years ago, and so they had like the Titanic. Like they don't have that many of them, but they got a replica of the Titanic, right? And it's a
Mhm.
museum. So you know what I'm saying. We went to the museum and we went in there, and like it's just like how weird it was to see that scene. So when they are, you remember when Jack got invited to lunch with
To
them?
dinner.
Yeah, to dinner, and he was going down those steps, and that clock is right there. Like they replica that whole thing, and it's just like it's so crazy, like seeing it exactly the way it was in the movie. And then it's like a little thing that you go through, and it take you through, and it showed you what the third class rooms look like.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, me being 6'2", I couldn't lay in the bed, like,
Oh wow.
cause my feet, I was too tall. And now, granted, you know what I'm saying, the average height, especially back then, people were more like, 5'8", 5'9", so it probably was fine. But like, just for the room to be that small, and it's like for the, and then it's like it ain't nothing extra in it. And then you look at Rose's room, they got a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother room. Like they got like 3 different
Yeah, they
rooms.
got like a living room in that motherfucker.
You know what I'm saying? And like to see
Mm-hmm.
how third class had to sit down there, and the things that they had to deal with. So, but the one thing that was very breathtaking was when you go to the part where, so you go into this room, and it's like it's showing like an iceberg everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole room is cold as fuck. And so they have this water there, and they say put your hand in the water and see how long you can keep it there, because
Yeah.
this was the temperature of the water that night that them people had to sit out there in.
Oh
And
wow.
that water, and I forget what the exact number was of how cold the water was, but dude, it was like right at not right at freezing, but like you stay in it
It
long
had to be
enough.
like right above it though.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it was
Yeah.
just, and then to really just think like, damn, they had to sit out there, and like those people literally froze to death sitting in that water. And so like it was it was something that I wouldn't mind doing again. And like they give you
Mm-hmm.
like they give you a card right when you first go in, and you wait to the end because they have every person's name that was on the Titanic, whether they worked, whether they um first class, third class, second class, whatever. Like it has everybody's information, and what the card says to look to see if your person survived.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up having a card of a person who ended up surviving,
Oh
and
nice.
the wild part was there were only, if I'm not mistaken, because I could be off, y'all. This was like 2 years ago, and I could have researched it, but I forgot. I think it was no more than 20, maybe 15 black people on the Titanic.
Yeah.
They were like
And most of
working
them was
like,
probably workers. Yeah.
yeah, they worked as chefs and like shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, man, it was a great place to go, man. I forget what the other one is. If y'all ever have a chance, if you is fascinated with this type of stuff, try to go to one of those replicas. I actually got a picture of me standing in front of it. Um, but it's a really really nice place, man. But Titanic,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's wild, dude, because they end up building it in the Harlan and Wolff shipyard in Breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
and like it took they started it in March. It started in March of 1909, and it took them two
Man.
years to finish it. Took them 2 years to finish that bad boy. They ended up having, how many dudes it was? They ended up having 15,000 dudes working on this thing,
Yeah.
right? They ended up having 8 construction workers that was killed and 246 injured while building the Titanic.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
this is the wild part right here, though, yo. Check this out. They had to use 20 horses, right,
Mm-hmm.
to transport the main anchor.
Damn.
So you can imagine how heavy that damn thing was. And see, what fascinates me about stuff like this, so let me throw a question at you, right?
Okay.
So there's always this question of, were people smarter back then than people are today? Now, this is what makes this question, a high debate, because we have the internet and all this type stuff to, give us this research to put in our head. But when you look at some of the things that were built back in the day, and they didn't have the tools and the technology that we have today, and they was able to figure this shit out back then. Because I even saw somebody I saw a picture of like the cruise ships today up to the Titanic,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, yo, the Titanic ain't shit compared to these. But it's like, yeah, but you got machinery and all of this type shit to build it. They didn't have that type of machinery back then. So
Right.
my question is the Titanic more impressive, and do you think that they were smarter the way that they put that thing together back then than these cruise ships today? And do you think people are smarter today?
Um. Well, I want to say this is really kind of a paradoxical question, only because I wouldn't say that people are smarter. I would say people are more informed today. Um. To be able to come up with the concept of the Titanic and everything that they did as far as the way it worked and everything else, like it was a real wonder of that time. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember, like this is a steam liner. This is a ship that was powered on steam, and this was the biggest ship of its, you know what I'm saying, of its kind at the time. This was the biggest ship to ever be created. And so, in the midst of, you know what I'm saying, them creating this ship, the reason that they felt like this ship was going to be unsinkable and, you know what I'm saying, untouchable is because of, you know what I'm saying, the things that were going on with other ships at the time. They felt like they were using the best materials. They felt like they were, you know what I'm saying, basically doing things that they didn't have to worry about with the other liners. Like a lot of people don't know that in the Titanic, it was it was lined it was double lined, so it was the original hull, and then there was another hull made up outside of that hull. And so the whole thing was, the reason they would call it unsinkable is because basically, if you know what I'm saying, something was to happen to the hull or whatever, if it was to get a hole in it, it basically would have water around it, but because of the air inside the hull already, right, it wouldn't be able to sink. It would sink a little bit, but it wouldn't be a sinkable ship because technically there would be no water on the inside of the boat to bring it down. So it would still be able to float. And a ship that big with that type of design, you know, you kind of get the chance to brag at that. My only beef is the fact that of the journey that they took um when they went. You know, they were going across the Atlantic and they were going further and further up north because they're trying to get to New York. But the easiest thing for them to do would have been would be to go further and further south, where you know it's a little bit warmer. They wouldn't have to worry about icebergs. So they kind of took you know what I'm saying, a weird route to get there. Um, but as far as people today, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't say smarter. I would say more informed because you know now nobody would take that route to go from Europe to New York on a cruise ship. You know what I mean? Um, and then on top of that, like now the designs for ships are a lot different. Like now you don't run uh we don't run them off steam. We run them off, like, you know what I'm saying, maybe like gas or something like that, or like a different type of fuel. But you know you're not running a boat off steam now, so now it can move faster. It's going at a different pace. You know, you don't have to worry about certain things. You know, the way that the mechanisms in the boat aren't the same as then. You know, like if they were to turn now, it's going to turn a lot faster. You know, and then you know you got radar and stuff now. Like then we didn't have radar, and or then they didn't, excuse me, have like radar or anything like that. They had two guys sitting up in the crow's nest with no binoculars at the time. You know, so yeah, I don't know if that's a question to, you know, to put out there like that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I
I
can't
feel
really
you.
say. Can't really say.
No, I got you. And then, like, to think about this, dude. So this movie, they had a budget of $200 million, my guy. All right. So opening weekend, they did $28.6 million.
Hmm.
This movie ended up grossing 659 million point three, but
Yep.
worldwide, 2 billion 2.2 billion
Yeah,
worldwide. This movie ended
because
up making.
you gotta remember, this is really not just a movie that's, you know what I'm saying, about America. Like, this is an international movie.
Yeah, and
You know what I'm
James
saying?
Cameron, he like, dude, I heard a fun fact, like, and then like the thing about this movie, man, like even them shooting it was crazy because Kate Winslet ended up getting sick. They had to stop
Mm-hmm.
shooting because she got sick. Um, James Cameron actually went down with the submarine thing,
Mm-hmm.
like the beginning of the movie when Bill Paxton is going down there and
Yeah.
they're looking at they said James Cameron was actually in it because he was like, "Yo,
Mm-hmm.
I want this shit shot right, so I'm going with you." You know what I'm saying? So he didn't want nobody else to shoot it. He wanted to go down and shoot it himself because there was certain angles and all this type shit that he wanted. But like to hear the stories about like how Kate got sick, how a bunch of people was not getting along, them having to stop shooting for a couple of weeks. Like they was
Mm-hmm.
only supposed to shoot for so many months, and then they end up going over that because of the water supply, whether it was Kate getting sick and people
Mm-hmm.
not getting along, people arguing about stuff, and then to put this movie, and then like I forget who the person was, but like Kate wasn't the first choice for that movie because at the
Right.
time she wasn't like this movie is what put her on the map. Like we knew who Leonardo DiCaprio was, but he, what I'm saying, but this movie took him to the next level.
Oh man, let me
Like
tell you something. This movie made women fall in love. This might have been why Kate Winslet has not been in certain movies after this came out. You know what I'm saying? She let my man Jack die, all to save herself on that big ass headboard.
man, the more and more I watch it, man, like I see what you're saying. I see the point that you're trying to make, but when you look at how that thing was floating, and he tried to get on it 2 times, and what I'm saying, they
Yeah,
kept flipping over. And I just felt like if both of them would have sat on it, it might have still would have floated. But
man, that shit
I
definitely
think
would
that
have floated, man.
some of their bodies. See, the thing is, with just her being on it, her body wasn't getting any water, so she was good. But I felt like if
Hmm.
they both would have got on it, it would have been lower in the water. So like if they would have been laying on their backs, like they back would still be underwater. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like with both of their body weights on it.
You got to remember too, they had life vests on too, so
No,
it wouldn't
only
have been
she
that
had
much.
one on. Jack didn't have one.
He, oh yeah, that's right. He gave her his.
Exactly.
See,
So
see,
like that's what I'm
she's a
saying.
piece of
Like
shit. The more and more I think about this movie, man. See, this
no,
is what I'm talking about, bro. This is I Johnny Depp was right.
nah, we can't do that.
Nah, I'm just
Listen,
playing.
but I will tell you this though, and I know this is a sad part about
Hmm.
life, right? Is
Yeah.
sometimes you have to have some bad shit happen for it to never happen again. And the reason the Titanic needed to happen, and I'm not out here to disrespect anybody, rest in peace to all the people that died or whatever, but
Hmm.
like they never would have knew, like, yo, we need to have enough lifeboats to save everybody on board.
Well,
They
no,
only
no,
had
no. Remember, it was never the issue of whether or not they had enough lifeboats because they initially had enough lifeboats. Remember, they removed the lifeboats because the people who were selling the tickets and who owned the boat initially didn't feel like that it would be the proper aesthetic to have all of these lifeboats on an unsinkable ship.
well, you got to remember when the one guy was talking to the other dude, he was saying that there's only because no, even Rose told Mr. Andrews about the whole thing about like I noticed there are only so many boats, and it was
Hmm.
like well, it's like I can't remember exactly what the number was, but let's say it holds 500 people, and she's
Hmm.
like, yeah, but it's 2,000 people on the ship. And
Right.
then I heard the dude that she was engaged to marry, you know what I'm saying, played by Billy Zane, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, Kyle, he was like, yeah, well, we'll say the better half. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like, there was never enough boats on it, regardless, to save everybody. And the way that they packed the boats was bullshit. We'll get to that. But, like, I think that for that to happen the way that it went down, they started looking at safety precautions different. There's like, yo,
Mhm.
we can't send a boat out with 2,000 people with only enough boats to save 500 people. So
Well, I mean, the crazy thing about that too is just that if you think about it, for 500 people, that was really just intended to save the first class.
yeah,
You know,
that's all it was.
it was never intended to. I mean, you could have had a few people in second, but it was mainly intended to save the first class. So it was never intended to save anybody outside of that. And you know, at that time, like that was a real huge thing. Like people in first class was the ones that were considered, you know, high society and everything else. So those are the people that were really who had the best interest um, in that whole situation. And you know, the sad part is just like you said, like you brought up going to the museum and being able to experience what the rooms are like. You know, you got to think about it. All those people that were in third class, you know, those are most of the people in cargo, third, second. You know, what I'm saying those are most of the people in cargo. So if you think about the people in first class, how they were being catered to, how they were being given all of these things and everything was basically made for them. This was supposed to be a luxury ship, right? And you know, they basically had most of the ship to roam and you know what I'm saying to experience and everything else like that. To whereas everybody in second and third was pretty much, you know, asked out and kind of given, you know what I'm saying, the whatever was left, you know what I'm saying, the scraps of you know what I'm saying, entertainment and the scraps of the food, you know what I'm saying? Even being on the deck, they couldn't go to certain decks because that was the first class deck or whatever that case may be. And so you just kind of see like the unfair treatment that was already just on that boat. And that wasn't even in America. That was coming from Europe. You know what I'm saying? So you could already see how that class system was already set in, and then you know what I'm saying, to see it on the boat just makes it a thousand times worse because you know what I'm saying, in that moment, you know what I'm saying, even in tragedy, you kind of seen how they were still thinking.
Yeah, you remember when Jack's friend when the boat was going down, they were like, yo, they playing music while the ship going down. You could tell we in
Mhm.
first class now. It's like I
Mhm.
like how they was able to put that in there, and then also to show you they had these people caged down there so they couldn't even get up there. So they was
Yeah, cause
letting all the
yeah,
first
remember,
class people get on the boat.
remember when they woke them up, they just told them just to put on their life vest, just wake up and put on their life vest, and that's all they told them.
Yeah, and like what the fuck is this life vest gonna do for me if I'm locked down here?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah, like that was, but that's the one thing that a lot of people don't speak about when it comes to the Titanic is the fact that yeah, this movie is a love story, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's showing you James Cameron showing you the reality of what this time was, and was like, yo, like the first class is the only people that really matter. Like they didn't even really give a damn about the crew, because remember
Yeah.
they locked down those uh those those dudes that worked in that boiler room, and you got to understand, like
Yep.
that is a tough
Yep.
ass job to be able to keep putting that coal into those things. You down there, I
Mhm.
can't imagine how hot that room was.
Man, that shit had to be crazy, man. It was probably humid as hell too.
What? It ain't no air vents,
Yeah,
probably.
none
Like
of
they
that.
down there. I wondered like that. Some of those dudes, it like if the real story, if like I wonder if some of those dudes died from heat exhaustion. Like
I
were they
mean, you
getting
could
their
only
water
imagine.
breaks? You know
Yeah,
what I'm
you could
saying?
only
Like
imagine that they would. You know what I mean? Like, and you brought up a very interesting point too. Is that this movie is a love story, right? Because this whole movie is through the POV of Rose Dawson. I forgot what her other last name was when she got remarried, but this was basically her, you know what I'm saying, point of view about the night of, you know what I'm saying, the sinking of the Titanic. And so you know, seeing that and hearing that type of thing, you kind of, you know what I'm saying, you kind of understand coming from her, you know what I'm saying, point of view, the life that she was living, the life that she kind of left behind, and, you know what I'm saying, what she kind of sacrificed in order to, you know what I'm saying, be happy in that situation. And it was, you know what I'm saying, it was a very interesting take on everything because, you know, as we were watching this, sometimes you kind of forget that she's still telling this story. This is the story through her eyes. You know, you kind of lose sight of that. And
You
it's
yeah.
just go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, but it was just one of those things like where you just, you know, you kind of just you get lost in, you know what I'm saying, that whole situation because it's such a good movie and everything is happening so fast. You know, you kind of forget that she's even telling these people this story until, you know what I'm saying, like a couple scenes later, it'll go back to her or whatever, you know what I'm saying, in the midst of a break or something. When, you know what I'm saying, like the dude is asking a pertinent question or something like that. But, I mean, it's just, it's crazy to see how, you know, even in the midst of, you know what I'm saying, like I say, in the midst of tragedy, how people could be treated so poorly. You know what I mean? Like in the one scene where Cal had he had given the guy the money to get him on the boat. And then when dude finally realized, like, man, we ain't getting off this fucking boat, he was like, yo, you keep this shit. Ain't nothing I can do with this. I'm about to die. This shit ain't gonna save me from drowning. It's not gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna get me a boat in time. It's not gonna do any of that. And so, you know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things where, you know, it was an interesting point of view. It's an interesting way that they made the movie in general because for him to for him to oh wait a minute oh for him to create this movie and make it a you know, a thing where he's basically saying, like, you know, we're gonna let her tell it, but we're still gonna, you know, add in all of these things and show you what it was really like. And then not only are we gonna show you what it was really like, you getting the story from, you know what I'm saying, it's supposed to be a first hand account, you know,
Hmm.
and it's interesting for them to put that together that way with, you know what I'm saying, all the information that was being put on, all the information that was being told and everything else. So you kind of got to give James Cameron his flowers on that one because that was fire how he put that together.
Definitely. I'm not mad at James for it. And because I think that this movie was shot so beautiful. Now, and I know some people, don't get me wrong, when it comes to a movie like, Avatar, the highly anticipated Avatar 2 gonna come out, I think this year or next year. But it's coming out soon.
I think it's next year.
Yeah, I think it is next year. I think it's 2023. But
Yeah.
but the way that was shot, don't get me wrong, that was beautiful too. But like, it's just something with me when it comes to history of watching this movie and the
Mhm.
way that he shot it. But something I wanted to speak on was I wanted to speak on who was my favorite character throughout this whole movie, right?
Okay.
So my favorite character was Molly Brown, played by Kathy Bates.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
she was my favorite character. Like, and like the way that they treated her. Like, they treated her like, so if we're using a modern day example, when you see, what I'm saying, somebody, it could be somebody, let's say somebody family. Like, you might not even be the person, you might not even be the reason. Let's say your family, you inherited 200 million, right? Your
Mhm.
family created this business, it's doing very well, you're doing good in life. So you inherited this money from your father, whatever the case may be. If you happen to be in the same room with a person that won the lottery, let's say they won 400 million,
Yeah.
they ain't gonna look at you the same way because they're gonna look at you
Yeah,
like, oh, you
they
hit the
call it new
lottery.
money. Yeah, they
Yeah,
call
they
it new
called it
money.
new money because
Yeah.
she didn't get her money the way that the other people in first class got their money. So that was the one thing I liked about her, was like, she was just trying to fit in, but at the same time she was still herself. She
Mhm.
never she never tried to act like them,
Right.
even though she was in the room with them. And that's what I liked about her, because she was like, at the end of the day, I am who I am. And like, I
Mhm.
like the way that they introduced her by when they were sitting at the table, and Kyle uh had ordered her food, and she was
Mhm.
like, "Are you gonna chew it for her too?" You know what I'm saying? Like, like what the fuck? You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Because
yeah,
he
this also is an interesting thing too, because you know what I'm saying, like around this time I believe that it's the 1920s,
yeah, something
around
like
that
that.
era,
1910.
early 1910s. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying, you got to think the women's suffrage movement was going on, you know what I'm saying, like feminism was on the rise. So she's a very she's a very shining example of what an American woman of of wealth would be at that time. And you know what I'm saying, not only that, you know, she was the only other American that was around Jack at the time too, because if you realize, she did a lot of she did a lot of kind of, I won't say babysitting, but she kind of, you know what I'm saying, embraced Jack a lot more than everybody else did, and she kind of showed him a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, love than everybody else did, because she kind of seen, you know, the brightness of who Jack was, and the person of who Jack was, rather than how everybody else looked at him, you know what I'm saying, as far as class would go, or you know what I'm saying, what his social status would be at the time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. But I also think that she didn't like Kyle. I think from the very
Oh no,
jump
yeah,
she
for
didn't like
sure.
that dude. So she kind
Yeah,
of,
for
so
sure.
she kind of helped Jack out, you know. And my thing is, I'm not trying to be picky about the film, but it's like, so you just happen to have your son tuxedo just traveling with you, like you
Well, I
just
mean,
happen
you know, you
to.
got to think she was over in Europe. She probably went to go buy some stuff from Europe, and you know what I'm saying, brought that back for her son.
Yeah, it's possible.
Could
It's
have been a
possible,
gift, you
but
know.
yeah, and for her to, I think she was really rooting for Jack, man, because I think that
Yeah, for sure.
she did not like dude, and so she was going out of her way to help him, and then even like when Jack was sitting at the table, he was like, "Yo, like all the silverware for me," she was like, "Yeah, just start from the outside and work your way in." You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
trying to teach him
And
the etiquette stuff.
the interesting thing about what you said is though, like, yo, she didn't like none of them. She fucked with
No,
Rose though. Like, don't get me wrong, like she fucked with Rose, but she didn't really like none of them. Like, all of
because
them motherfuckers was assholes, bro.
yeah, and I don't think Rose was as uppity. It seemed like Rose was kind
Exactly.
of dealing with
She was
like,
more open minded.
yeah, she was definitely more open
Yeah.
minded, and like she actually saw the people that was in third class. Like Kyle, he
Hmm.
was just like, yo, like fuck them. They ain't benefiting me in any kind of way. And her mom was just way over the top. You know what I'm saying? Like her mom was just one of those people who she's starting to enjoy this money and like now because let me ask you this because the way I interpreted it, Rose and her mom was going into money because Kyle had money. Is that
Well, they
right?
was they were already of a certain social status, right? And around those times in England, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, we all know women really didn't have that, you know what I'm saying, sort of social status yet. So basically, she would have been like the key to the wealth. You know what I'm saying? With her and her mom, she'd have been the key to the wealth. I don't think her dad was. I think her dad had passed or something like that. I don't remember them mentioning it, but I know her dad wasn't never around. And so, you know what I'm saying, them going to the Americas, basically, he was going to be taking her in, and you know, like that's where, you know, like the whole dowry and all that kind of stuff is. Like this was
Hmm.
just a kind of reverse thing on it. Instead of her, you know what I'm saying, like him getting her money, it was more so like they were already of a social status. He was, you know what I'm saying, wealthy to do. And then, you know what I'm saying, she was just basically marrying him because when they married, they would marry up, or quote unquote
Yeah.
marry up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Hmm.
how it was. It wasn't that, you know what I'm saying, like they didn't have anything, because, you know what I'm saying, like they were actually, you know what I'm saying, of the higher class, the upper class in England. It was just that, you know, going into that, she was supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, it was more like an arranged marriage thing, basically.
Yeah. Because it seemed like she didn't really fuck with him like that. Like it
No,
was
she
just
didn't
more
at
of
all,
like
man.
it was more of like, yo, we are in the same status, or you are a status above me, so it just makes sense for us to be together. And it
Yeah,
just
for
seemed like
sure.
her mom. It seemed like her mom had a lot to do with it because she always had to tell Rose to be like, "Yo, Rose, do this, you know, sit up or or whatever. And Rose was just more like she was more laid back, like I don't feel like doing all this shit. So I thought that was something that was interesting about the film as well. But like with Jack though,
Mm-hmm.
man, Jack was that dude. Like I love the way that his character viewed life. You know what I'm saying? Like just to, like when Kyle tried to humiliate him at the table, and the comeback that he had was one of the best comebacks you ever heard in a movie, where you
Mm-hmm.
sitting around a table with a whole bunch of rich people who only value money and material things. And he was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I value what I'm saying, the air in my lungs, and I'm not going to live my days just, being focused and worried about material things and stuff like that. Like, as long as I got a
Yeah.
pencil and a pad, what I'm saying, I'm good. I was sleeping under a bridge, and now I'm sitting here having lunch with you fine people. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
his response to that disrespect was so good that that was one of those situations where, what I'm saying, if it existed back then, that's to drop the mic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
And
definitely,
yeah,
definitely, 100%. And the best thing about it was is that he never lost his cool. You know what I'm saying? He never got shook up in that situation. And even when Kathy Bates' character had even said that to him, like when you go in there, you go in there, you hold your head up, and you make sure you show 'em, you know what I'm saying, that you belong, and you bring that confidence, and that's what he did. And listen, going around people like that, having been around people that's what I'm saying, of that mindset, it's a little tough to deal with because they don't have that sense of reality that what I'm saying, the common person has. Like everything to them is a sheltered view on life. Everything to them is a behind the wall kind of view on life. And so if it's not in their world, it's kind of hard for them to see or believe or think that's what it is. And for Jack to be able to be out there doing the things that he's doing, living the kind of life that he's lived, and then you see him being able to walk amongst any kind of crowd, because that wasn't even his crowd. So the fact that he was able to get in there and walk amongst that crowd and be amongst those people, and you know talk the way that he talked, and what I'm saying, carried himself the way he did, that just goes to show you that his experiences were way more valuable than anything that they could have purchased or anything that they could have owned at that time.
you 100% right. But then also to piggyback off what you were saying about like being able to keep your cool in this situation, like when he was sitting there, and I like how he was, what I'm saying, reading the room, looking around, seeing what all the men were doing, because he was sitting there practicing on how, to shake hands and how to put your arm out, so to walk
Hmm.
Rose in or whatever the case may be. And it was funny that she caught him doing it. That was funny. But but the deal with Kyle coming up to him and be like, "Oh, that's you know what I'm saying, you
Hmm.
almost clean up like us." You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like, what are you trying? Like he constantly kept throwing shots at him. But I think the reason he kept throwing shots at him because I think he knew
Yeah.
without, like, I didn't think that he would think that Rose would leave him, but he
Hmm.
knew Rose had something for him, and
Well,
so
not only
that's
that,
why he.
you could tell he felt threatened, man. Most of those guys that are you know of that caliber that a Cal was, they're usually insecure type of guys. They don't really have a personality. They don't really have too many talents. They don't really have anything going for themselves other than the fact that they come from money. They're wealthy. They've pretty much gotten everything they wanted because of their last name or who their father was, or anything like that. So seeing, seeing somebody who, was an artist who actually had a conversation, who actually had something to bring to the table outside of just how much money he made on the Dow Jones, you know, as you can see, everybody was interested, everybody was engaged, that was paying attention to Jack when he was talking. And when somebody has that type of energy or somebody like that around them, and they can't do that, they start to feel threatened. They start to feel like the attention is leaving them. And at the time, everybody was looking at him and giving him all the attention. So Yeah, it was. I think Jack was right on time with everything that he brought in that scene because without him, Mark. So without him, he wouldn't have been able to he wouldn't have been able to do what he did in that moment.
Oh, definitely, man. And Kyle, man, he was a straight up hater, but at the same time, man, Kyle was. I mean, I hate to say it, man, Kyle was a bitch, yo. Like even like my thing is, if somebody show you who they are and they tell you, and like some people want to now. I mean, it depends on how you want to put it. You know what I'm saying? Rose is engaged to being married to this dude, and she's entertaining another guy. And people were like, "Yo, Rose was a hoe because you know what I'm saying she was engaged to this dude and she went off with Jack and all this type of shit." But like,
Hey,
well, like you said in the
and this is
a
what
couple of
I'm
minutes
saying.
ago, like, yo, you could tell that this marriage was kind of arranged. Like they
Yeah,
didn't really feel each other, and I think Kyle just and I think he liked the whole thing of just having a beautiful girl on your arms. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
because the way
yeah,
they view wives back then, as long as you something good to look at and I can show you off to other people, like that's
yeah.
all it really
It's all
was.
everything is a status symbol. Everything is um you know everything is a yay or nay type thing.
Yeah,
If it's good enough for the group, it's good enough for me. You know what I mean?
yeah. And that's all it would like. It's the whole thing of like having a trophy wife.
Hmm.
Like that's what Rose was to him. Like but
Yeah,
just the way that
yeah.
he played
Spot
it.
on.
Yeah, like in the way that he played it, man, with his cop dude, man, like I just thought that like the way I would have looked at it, man, like having that mindset of like, all right, you want to go off with this dude, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead. I'm gonna try to jump on
Hmm.
this boat, and I get me somebody else. But
Well,
I
see, the
think
thing
that
is that it was never the fact of him. It was never the fact of him losing Rose. It was him losing Rose to Jack.
yep,
You know what I mean? Like, cause he didn't really care about Rose like that. Like we seen that he was smacking her around, throwing her, knocking tables over and shit. Like nobody gave a damn about that. He didn't give a damn about that. His thing was, I don't want to lose to this street urchin. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't want to
yep,
lose to somebody who was lower class because if he'd have did that, then what did that mean? You know what I'm saying? What did that say about him? You know what I'm saying? What did that um how would that reflect on him basically?
yeah,
That he lost his wife, his future wife or his fiance, you know what I'm saying, to a guy who didn't have a modicum of what he had. You know what I'm saying? So that was just kind of, what I'm saying, basically just be, what I'm saying, shooting a dead dog at that point.
man, yep, you're right. It's because it's about how it looks to others, man, and that's that thing
Yeah,
about that status, man. Like they always have to
yeah.
keep that status, but as far as like, man, the Titanic, like, sinking and all of that type shit, man, man, it was so
I think it
realistic,
was
man.
Yeah, I think it was dope the way that they was able to. I mean, unfortunately, I don't want to say dope as in like the situation, but the way that they were able to capture that and put that on film for people to actually get an idea of what could have possibly happened. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I think that was dope for them to be able to use the technology at the time. And remember, like you said, like this is 1998. Like that shit look
1997.
no, sorry, 1997. That should look as real as ever. Like on VHS, that looked like a real boat. That looked like a real iceberg. Like everything about that shit looked real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now when you watch it on, you know what I'm saying, on streaming, it's like, okay, that's clearly a CGI boat. Like that's clearly a CGI iceberg. Like, but seeing it, you know what I'm saying, then on VHS with the, you know what I'm saying, when it's not as defined on film as it is now, it looked like, bro, that shit was breathtaking to see that shit floating across the water, man.
Yeah, man. It really looked like, especially back then, like a documentary, man, when that thing started going down.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looked so real, it was shot so well, and like for him to go the storyline of, showing Mr. Andrews in the one room because he felt guilty that he didn't make a strong enough ship, he felt. And
Yeah.
so, he felt he had to go down with it. The captain, the captains always go down with their ship. So it was just one of those things. And like I mentioned, like the dudes being locked in that boiler room down there, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was just like it's
Yo, can
really
we talk
one of
about how
one of
that's
the
a can we talk about how that's a stupid ass idea for the captain to go down with the ship?
yeah
Cause don't he know everything?
yeah, and it's like, wouldn't you want him? Okay, right? Wouldn't you want him to be like, okay, this is what went wrong, so now I know
Yeah.
with my next ship, I know not to do this.
Maybe that's why ships were sinking the way they was, because the captains was going down with the fucking ship instead of just staying
Yeah,
back being like, hey, this is what happened.
exactly. And then you can go on and pass off that new information, so don't nobody else make the same
Man,
mistake. Like he's the
yeah,
only
that's
person that can give you that first hand. Like, now, don't get me wrong.
exactly.
Some of the people that was on the boats
Hmm.
were, seen in there as well, but like they're
Yeah,
still not the captain. Like there's a reason why
right.
you're not a captain. And
Exactly.
and then like the whole thing of what Rose was saying, like, well, it was not Rose, but like there was one situation where they was arguing, and they said, "Yo, there was 12 people on one of those boats." He said these boats
Hmm.
hold 64 people,
Yeah.
and like just for them to do, and look, man, this whole women and children thing, it's like, all right, y'all dudes, y'all don't mean shit. We're gonna save all these women and children
Oh
first.
man, we already knew that wasn't even. Anytime I hear that, man, I just be like, that's just another reminder that as a dude, you got to find your way out. Hence the way my man Jack went out. You know what I'm saying? My man had to find his way out. You know what I'm saying? She left my. She wants this nigga to fall in love with her, but she wanted this nigga to stay in some freezing cold water, thinking that he was gonna survive the whole fucking time. First off, he barely floating. I know this nigga is treading water at the same time, so he working himself up. His body is getting overexerted. His body is getting exhausted because it's super cold water. So he's trying to keep his body warm. Next thing you know, my nigga just says, "You know what, bro? This shit ain't working. Fuck this bitch," and he dies. And then she gonna shake and talk about Jack, Jack. And this is the thing too. I tell people this all the time. I want everybody to go back and rewatch that scene. Okay, she pushed my nigga in the water.
She had to.
Man, fuck that. No, she didn't. He was sitting there that whole time, and it wasn't no issue. Now all of a sudden, he gotta sink down to the bottom of the fucking Atlantic, the freezing Atlantic Ocean. Nah, bro.
Man, I feel you. I feel you, but like I
She
just
had a
don't know
life
what
of
else.
her own.
I don't know. I just don't know what else she would have done with them. But like, if
Hey,
you watch
what
that
if?
scene,
Yeah.
like, look, Leonardo DiCaprio killed this shit, yo. The
Oh yeah, for sure.
facial expression that he had once that second attempt that he knew he wasn't gonna be able to fit on there,
Mm-hmm.
you see it in his face, like, yep, I'm about
Fucking bitch.
to
That's what he really was saying. He
die.
said, "Fucking
Nah, but
bitch."
like, and I'm gonna tell you, and maybe I shouldn't use the word like. Um, one thing that I appreciated, how about that?
Mhm.
One thing I appreciated was when they showed the one boat going back and the people was already frozen in the water. For
Oh
them to show
man, and they was
this,
pushing them with the paddles.
yeah, and to show the
That shit
woman
was
holding the
crazy.
baby, like, you have to give people the real sometimes. Like that is a real situation, and like you have to see the significance of it. Like that reminded me of a scene in America at St. Anna's when the
Yeah.
the massacre at the church, when the
Mhm.
Germans just started shooting all these people because they were looking for somebody and they didn't know where this person was. and so they
Yeah.
ran out of bullets. So they started stabbing people to make sure they were dead.
Mhm.
And then you hear this baby crying, and then this German looks down at it, and you hear the stab, and the baby stopped crying. It's like sometimes that they didn't show it, but you
Yeah,
get it.
but just the sound, the audio of it is more visual than the actual visual would be sometimes.
Exactly. And I think to show that woman holding that baby and to see that they both froze to death, like I
Mhm.
think that you have to give people that real of like, yo, like this is the real situation. Like these are the things that happen. Like we're not hiding anything from you.
Yep.
The only
Yep.
thing that James hid from us was he didn't show not one black person. The whole film.
Well, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Out of all the movies, what I'm saying, that black people being with the with knowing what was gonna happen, I would rather not see black people in this movie.
But
I ain't gonna
that's
lie to you.
the one thing they didn't show in this movie. They showed you the boiler room. They showed you, you know what I'm saying, the diner. They showed you everything but the kitchen, my
Hey, listen, I don't even want to see the kissing. Just the fact of knowing that no black people died in this movie is good enough for me. That's all I'm saying,
Man,
bro.
yeah,
I
man.
mean, that's a win for us.
No, hey,
If
I
you if
feel
you
you.
really think about it, that's a win for us. We ain't
I
had
feel
nothing to
you.
do with this movie. I'm with that. Let's roll. There was one black dude in this movie, and he was at the door, and I think he escaped.
Hey, but you stupid. You
I'm just
stupid,
saying,
bud.
man. I'm just saying, man. Shit, we got enough movies to where some tragedy happened and we getting taken out. We got took out in gangs in New York. We got took out in everything. This is just the one movie that we don't see none of us go down. I'm like, yes, sir. I'm with that. That might be one of the reasons subconsciously why this is like one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God. Okay, it's time to end the podcast.
Ain't
This
no
this
nigga
dude,
stop.
this dude is
I'm with that.
stupid, man. Nah, but I will say this though, man. Like for this movie to get the praise that it got, I think it held the
Hmm.
record until, if I'm not mistaken, it was in game. I think it broke the record.
Yeah. Yep.
But this movie was the longest, highest grossing movie of all time until Endgame
Hmm.
came 2 years ago. And
Yep.
I think it's worth it, man. I think James Cameron, the vision that he had, but then also to think that somebody, and it's estimated for people to put up $200 million for a movie in 1990, you might as well say 6, 7,
Hmm.
to put this kind of money into a movie and to bank it on actors who, I mean, because you look at the people, like the only person that was like really like big time was my
It
man
was
that
Leonardo and Kathy Bates, and well, no, Billy Zane was actually doing this
he
thing around
he
that
was
time.
pretty good, but you also got to think about daytime TV. My man that played Victor Newman, you know what I'm saying? He was in this
Oh,
joint.
yep, yep.
You
Victor
know what I'm
Newman
saying?
was in it.
So, but like, yeah, to put your money on these people and to get the visuals that you got, I think it was worthy of being the movie that had that top spot for as long as it had it. So I ain't mad at it, man.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at it at all.
yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, man. Like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Um, I enjoyed what they did with it. You could tell that that type of money was put into this movie for it to be 3 hours long and it to be as captivating as it was, and then not only as captivating as it was, just the graphics in the movie. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they CGI so much stuff in the movie, and it was actually CGI to perfection at this point. You know what I mean? Like this was one of those movies that what I'm saying, the look of it was amazing, the feel of it was amazing. Um, when you left that what I'm saying, presentation, like you felt a wave of emotions. You know what I'm saying? You felt happiness, you felt sadness, you know what I'm saying? You felt the loneliness, you know what I'm saying? You felt the fear. You know what I'm saying? You kind of felt everything in that movie, and that was just the beauty of it. James Cameron and the cast and the writers and everybody else involved did a great job putting this, what I'm saying, together. And, you know, I mean, like I said, man, it's one of those ones that's gonna go down in history forever. It's like one of the greatest movies ever. And then you got to think about it too, like this is this is a story that's been told throughout history. As a situation. Like to me, the only other story that's like this that could possibly be told and possibly come somewhat to terms is the what is it, the Hindenburg or the Heidenberg or something like that with the big ass airship,
Oh,
the blimp thing. I think it's called the
yeah, yeah,
Heidenberg
yeah,
or the Hindenburg, something like that. I think it's the Hindenburg. But basically, that's that to me. That's the only other tragedy that they could turn into a movie that would even be able to rival this. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I mean, I like I said, man, I enjoy it. But let's get into them fire flames, man. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So I'm gonna let you go because I mean, you already know what I'm gonna say. I don't really got too much to say. I mean, you already know what mine is.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, man. I'm gonna go. Great cast. Leonardo DiCaprio, Kathy Bates. You know what I'm saying, Kate Winslet. Everybody did a really great job. I think James Cameron really changed the game with the Titanic. I think he really made everybody have to step their game up. And with him getting $200 million, I think that this is the reason why he have the freedom with the movies that he have today. Um, I think that this movie really captured like that time. When it came down to the costumes, when it came down to the way that people spoke, when it came down
Mm-hmm.
to how detailed he was, even down to the china. You know what I'm saying? Like even showing a scene like when they showed the one room that had the plates and it just showed all the plates hit the floor. Like that was fucking
Yeah.
genius. Like just little shit like that is the details. Um, with that being said, man, you know what, man? I wasn't gonna do it. I was ready to say a 4.5. I'm gonna go ahead and cross that barrier, man. I'm gonna give it a 5 too, man.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, I was about to say, man. Come on. Listen, man. This movie is brilliant. You know what I mean? This is one of the movies that, what I'm saying, they actually got right at the Oscars. Um Incredible performances by everybody in the cast. Um the the angles and the shots that they got in this movie is amazing as well. When they go to the end of when they showing you the ship as it's laying at the bottom of the Atlantic, and then what I'm saying, they go back and they what I'm saying, reverse it to when it was actually sitting on top of the water, and they show you what I'm saying, the people that were there. They show you um what I'm saying, the architecture of the actual ship, and you're actually being able to see that transform from frozen, what I'm saying, frozen metal and material into an actual ship again. Like you kind of forget that, what I'm saying, like this is a true story. It becomes so it becomes so what I'm saying, like fairy tale-ish because of the way that everything looks. It's so grandiose that it becomes like this make believe, what I'm saying, it becomes this work of fiction. And so, the fact that, what I'm saying, James Cameron could take this and turn this into the masterpiece that he did, what I'm saying, is amazing. He always comes through, of course, he makes nothing but blockbusters. Um, but for him to do that with, what I'm saying, a historical event and to turn that into, what I'm saying, this is crazy and beyond measure. So, man, like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's an instant five for me. If we could go higher, I would, but definitely five.
I feel you, man. I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, man. It's a great movie, man. Um, so man, listen, people, coming soon. I don't think my guy seen this yet, but I've seen it at least twice, man. It's gonna be great going back and watching it again, man. It's one of the movies, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that the person that this movie is on, man, is just a very fascinating person, man. This is the reason why I wanted to do it. Really, I wanted to do it to talk about it, but I really wanted you to see it because I don't think you ever would see it without me bringing it
Yeah.
up. And the movie that we're doing, it's a Netflix film. It's called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil in Veil. It's a movie
Oh no,
about
no,
Ted.
I've seen some of this stuff.
Well, you gotta see the whole thing, man. It's a movie about
Yeah, I
Ted
definitely
Bundy
do.
and
Yep.
his longtime girlfriend who refused to believe the truth, man. She just not would
Hmm.
believe that this man was out here killing these hoes like that. But and I just said that to
That's
be funny,
hilarious.
man. They ain't hoes. But I just said that to be funny.
Hey, you know,
But
they was some of them was probably hoes,
nah, man. But he was going around here, man, killing these women, man, and she just would not believe
hmm
it, man. But I think that look, man, Ted Bundy, man, he's one of those fascinating serial
Yeah,
killers, man. It was just
yeah.
something weird about him, and I just thought that it would be a really good movie to do because we can get into the whole Ted Bundy bag and serial killers and all of that type shit. So I just thought it would be, a really, really good movie to do. So that's what we got coming up next, man. If y'all have not seen it, it came out in 2019. If you want to
hmm
watch it before we do it, man, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil in Veil. It's a movie about Ted Bundy. And I'll say this before we go. This is the movie I never really looked at Zac Efron as like a quote unquote actor. I always looked at him as like, okay, they found a little good looking white dude and they just want to throw him out there. Like this
Yeah.
movie, this dude acted in this movie. You hear me? Like he really, really showed me like why this dude is in Hollywood. This is the movie that
hmm
did it for me. This movie and when he did Parkland. Parkland is another movie, but he wasn't in Parkland that long. Like his running time was probably only about like 15 minutes. But in this movie, he really killed it and he showed me why he's an actor. So I got to give it up for Zac Efron for playing Ted Bundy.
For sure, man. Zac Efron, you know what I'm saying? He's done some great acting over his time. He played a magnificent role uh in High School Musical. Um, People
Okay.
thought he was actually a teenager, and that's some hard shit to do. Especially for a dude that was in his 20s at the time. So you know what I'm saying. Him and Vanessa Hudgens. You know what I'm saying? They pulled off the fact that people thought they was teenagers. So salute to Zac Efron, man. He's actually come up a long way. He's taking a comedy approach to some of his movies now, and I ain't gonna lie, he's actually hilarious. So to see him in this is kind of different. But I'm excited, man. I'm gonna finish watching this joint and see what how it plays out.
Yes, sir, man. But yeah, man, like like always, man, we appreciate everybody. Sorry for the pods not dropping all last week, man. Had to
Sorry for the wait.
yeah, sorry for the wait, man. We had to but look, we hope y'all still there, man. Appreciate the
Yeah,
pod,
man, they
listening
there.
to the pod, share the pod, all that type stuff. Be on the lookout soon for 28 minutes or less. Support me over
Hmm
there. But y'all can follow me at s.foster8 on Instagram at 28 minutes or less pod. That's on IG. Let me see. Follow the pod on all major platforms. And before we get out of here, though, this is the week. It was actually yesterday, on the day of we recording. It was actually yesterday. It was
Yep.
the year anniversary of me losing somebody who was very important in my life. You know what I'm saying? Uncle
Yes,
Washington
sir.
passed away a year ago. Yesterday. I missed that dude. You know what I'm saying? I love that dude. He was my everything, man. He wasn't just a co-host on the podcast, but we had a lot of great podcasts. We had a lot of great fun. Still think about him by every day, just to be able to do what I'm doing right now, man. And being able to
Hmm
close on a house and all this type stuff. Like I don't think nobody would be as happy for me that he would be right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I think that he would be more excited than I am at this point if he was still here, to see that
Yeah,
that I was able to accomplish something like this in my life. So rest in peace, rest in power to my guy Uncle Washington, and you are definitely missed, my guy.
man, gone but never forgotten, man. Rest in peace to Uncle Washington for sure, man. Um, the dope thing about that though, bro, is that he was able to leave you with so much wisdom, and that's one thing that I always told you, man. The fact that when you guys were on that pod, what I'm saying, it was a great mixture of wisdom. What I'm saying, it was a great mixture of youth. What I'm saying, and he was able to drop a lot of gems on you, and what I'm saying, you were able to pick those up and take them and use them in life, and that's a blessing in itself. Um, but as far as me, what I'm saying, y'all go check me out on Twitter at Scoots Bronson. I got a link tree. You can follow me in there. I got everywhere else I'm at in my link tree. But like Sean said, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the support. We greatly appreciate it. That week off was really not something that we kind of controlled, but it was all for the better because my guy has closed on his new home. His family can now be in a place that they can grow and become a family in and continue to be a family in, and that's always a blessing, man. So y'all make sure y'all go on that man's socials, man, and congratulate him. Make sure you send something in, tell him congratulations, because it's not every time that the black man gets a chance to celebrate these moments. Sometimes we don't live long enough to celebrate these moments. So the fact that he has a family, the fact that he has a house that he could raise his family in, and the fact that he's actually there to be a black father, is something that we greatly appreciate, especially coming from me, man. I definitely appreciate it because me being a black father as well, I know how hard it is sometimes to do some of those things and to, be in that position. So, salute to you, bro. Congratulations again. And,
Thank you, thank you.
for sure, bro. Like they say in Hollywood, man, that's a wrap.
Good.